There was a fire that started up in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park.
And then by 6, 7 o'clock that evening, this place erupted into essentially an inferno.
The fires just literally knocked on our front door, and our whole house was just surrounded in fire. So we had moments to escape.
What did you come home to?
Ashes. Piles of ashes.
Everybody's saying Gatlinburg's gone.
I lost everything in the wildfires. Nobody knew anything for a while. Of course, the first thing was just like, you know, where am I gonna go?
Dolly kind of intuitively and instinctively laid out the essence of the response, which is we need to put money in people's hands as quick as possible. Around here we use the term Dolly eyes, and that is really how do you take something and add the accessories to it, if you will, and really, more importantly, add the soul and the touch of Dolly, because when Dolly does something, it's big, it's exciting, it's personal, and it's effective. People should have the ability to spend money on their own road to recovery, however that road looks to them, not to be dictated.
There were no strings attached.
I felt that was the absolute most fair thing.
So I was driving home one day after teaching, and I was listening to the radio, and I heard that Dolly Parton was contributing $1,000 a month to each family that was impacted by the wildfires. And I thought to myself, this is a really genuine approach to dealing with disaster recovery. I thought I'd be interested in studying this. My research area focuses on economic inequality and increasingly focuses on universal basic income as a means to perhaps alleviate that inequality. So universal basic income is in fact universal. So it's a cash transfer that typically happens on a monthly basis.
I work with the Latino population, and working through My People Fund, I got to know many more people. They said, we cannot believe that there is no discrimination here. They are giving us money too. They couldn't believe that.
People don't offer something for nothing in this world. That was the case here, and it was a lifesaver.
The funds were primarily used to live on, just the immediate basic needs. So it could have been everything from toiletry to personal items.
That money helped me get basic necessities at first.
I used the money to replace some of the things that I lost in the fire, you know.
People use the money for pay the rent. They use it to buy their cars. I mean, they could have not survived without that help.
The money we got from the foundation built this foundation because we wanted to get our efforts starting to rebuild, and we really didn't have any funds yet available. Because I'm not joking when I say our bank was in no hurry. But Dolly had a lot of compassion and true to her word, and it was quick.
The purpose of the My People Fund was we want to get people back to the place they were whenever the wildfires hit. So the purpose of this study was, one, to collect a retrospective baseline to understand what do people's lives look like during that time, and then to see how they had changed after the fire. And in that time, we saw most people thought that those cash transfers were most helpful for their recovery. At the time of the wildfires, around 50% of individuals owned their homes, and then around 50% rented either a house or a mobile home or an apartment. 6 months after the fires, what we saw is the majority of folks shifting to a rental situation. By the 12-month mark, we see a more even distribution where 50% are renting and now 50% are owning. So currently, around 44% of American households don't have any savings set aside for emergencies. When we look at that in contrast to how the families are doing in Gatlinburg, we see around 50% of them do have savings, and of those that do have savings, 95% have over $1,000 in their savings account. Work hours were very stable across actually all 3 points of observation. So if we look at the day before the wildfires, if you will, people reported a median work hours of around 40 hours per week. 6 months out, it was also 40 hours, and then a year later, it was 40 hours.
So critics of cash assistance programs will say that it reduces the motivation to work. What would you say to people who think that?
What makes people think that because somebody gets some help from somebody and somebody needs some help, that all of a sudden that's going to make them trigger them into, like, okay, not want to work? I mean, who thinks like that?
People are so afraid of what people are going to do or not going to do with the money. I think the fear of these kinds of approaches are really twofold. One is that they'll spend the money unwisely, or it gives people an excuse not to work, right? And in our experience, neither one of those things happened.
I felt embarrassed when I went and got that first check. I don't know why. I felt like I had to turn around and look for somebody to give it to that needed it, but you know, I needed it.
Do you think a universal cash assistance program could be a helpful thing?
Little regular assistance and everything is a good thing or a bad thing. Gotta be a good thing.
Do you have any, ideas or thoughts you might pass on to people who might be thinking of using cash to help people?
I don't believe in handouts unless it's something that you need because of a disability or something like that.
Or a catastrophe that you didn't see coming, such as the wildfires that we experienced.
Do you think that, certain catastrophes might be equally unexpected and equally hard to plan for? Things like, I don't know, somebody in the family getting incredibly sick.
Yes.
Just all sorts of things happen all the time. Has your own experience of the My People Fund changed any of your beliefs or ideas around government assistance?
I might have been more quick to just, stereotype someone on welfare as just, lazy. That's not always the case.
No, that's true what David's saying. You don't know unless you've walked in that person's shoes. You don't know what their circumstances are.
These are my mountains.
Dolly Parton has a song that's called My People, and it talks about these are my people, these are my mountains, these are my rivers, and these are my valleys. And she truly feels that way.
My memories, these are my mountains. This is my home.
I always feel like at the end of the day that any kind of program or approach that's built on the belief that people are smart, they're good, they know what to do, and you trust them to do that, that when you sort of ground something in the positive sort of perspective of humanity, then positive things happen.
I believe that universal basic income is important because individuals can work 40 hours a week and still not be able to afford an apartment or a rental home or to be able to buy a house, to not be able to cover their bills. And universal basic income brings us up to a level where just those basic needs are met.
I can almost get a tear. I mean, I just, to talk about it is one thing, but I mean, when it happens to you, for me anyway, I can get a little emotional about it because it just doesn't, that's just not the way it's supposed to work, and it did. It did. Saved people's lives. If nothing else, up in their head where they could keep going on, just take those next steps.